believe is the golden era of the WNBA. And by the way, there's no one better than this woman to talk to about it because she's done it all in the sport of women's basketball. She's a basketball Hall of Famer, an Olympian, a three-time All-American, former coach for the Detroit Shock, and currently serves as an NBA analyst for the OKC Thunder. She's also the 2018 champion head coach with the power in the Big Three. You know that league Ice Cube runs. Please welcome my guest, known as Lady Magic herself, the one, the only, Nancy Lieberman. Welcome, Nancy. Let's get right to it. You did an outstanding job covering Sunday's Indiana Fever's win over the Dallas Wings. I call this the golden era of the WNBA. First things first, would you agree with that?
I agree 100%. This is what we all dreamed about, and it's actually happening in real time. And today's players are absolutely phenomenal. The W is the most valued women's league, in my opinion, in the world right now.
In college, Caitlin Clark was named the winner of the Nancy Lieberman Point Guard of the Year 2 years in a row, if I remember correctly. I want to play something you said during the broadcast. Listen to this.
Wow. Wow. And you hear it first right there. Don't hate on Caitlin. Acknowledge Caitlin. She is thanking Caitlin for where this game is going. Wow. She's letting you girls know. You guys understand that Caitlin Clark will make you millionaires? Do you understand that? Do you really? That is this is just being honest. And that's all we ask. Just be honest. Nancy right here telling you straight up. This is where the league, this is where the potential is at. Caitlin Clark, you have brought what we had dreamed of to the WNBA. It's here. It's in front of our eyes. It's happening. You got LeBron James tweeting on Friday night. You got just everybody's, I'm telling you, we're about to peak. It's about to go boom, boom. It's about to go boom, boom, boom. I'm trying to, bro, you guys have to understand. It's here. Do not mess it up. Stop the hate and ride the wave. I'm telling you, it's going, just give it, please, 2 years, 3 years, and it's going to go crazy. National, listen to me. But you have to stop this hating nonsense. Come to realization, Caitlin Clark is here, and she's here to stay. And we got more coming out of college. That's what the older heads don't understand of the WNBA. I shouldn't say older head, the veterans. There's more on the way. Everybody has a social media presence now. There's more on the way. Accept it. Let's go.
Nancy, I listened to that sound, and that was one of the biggest reasons I wanted you on today, because you clearly feel such a level of appreciation for the greatness, for the potential and the greatness that we're witnessing from Caitlin Clark. I want you to speak to why that is and whether or not you feel she's being appreciated enough by some members in the female basketball community.
Well, I think you bring up a great point. It's so important for us to understand that there's going to be generational players. I'm not saying everybody's not going to be at the same talent level, but I'm saying that Caitlin Clark has just caught the attention of the world. She might be right now, maybe her and Simone Biles, the most visible women athletes in the world right now. And this is a good thing for sports. And internally, we can be women. We could be our worst enemies. We should embrace people who take us to another level. And she's done that, and it's proven from her collegiate days with TV, with jersey sales, with arenas being filled. Why wouldn't you want to ride that train to success? Because it will change your tax bracket, incrementally because of what she's doing. And there's so many great players like A'ja Wilson. She's my unanimous MVP in this league. I don't think there's a player in the world right now better than A'ja Wilson. And we got great rookies. Angel Reese just, broke this incredible rebounding record, single season. in WNBA history. These young players, Rakia Jackson, Carmela Cardoza. I mean, this is a great time, but it's the veterans and the youth. We have to come together because everybody has a hand in our growth. And, as good as some of the, we didn't move the needle like Caitlin is moving the needle, and everybody is benefiting from it.
Nancy, I've been bringing this up for months, and I've been taking hits for months because I wanted her on Team USA, and I was not trying to say that she was better than any of the 12 players that was on the squad. What I was saying is that female basketball, women's basketball has been starving for recognition for so long. All the hard work, all the tremendous effort, the blood, sweat, and tears that so many of these wonderful ladies have put into the game, including yourself, by the way, and the lack of recognition that has come along with it. Here was a person that America had gravitated to in such a way that you could utilize it to your advantage to benefit everybody. Yet folks were appalled that I would dare have the temerity to bring up marketing and promotion as something that should play a role in ultimately you deciding who's on Team USA to promote the game of basketball. Was I wrong in feeling that way?
Well, they came at you really hard, and that was short-sighted because, first of all, she very well could have played and should have played. In my opinion, I align with you on Team USA. I'm saying this, as you know, I'm still the youngest Olympic basketball player ever. In 1976, I was a high school senior. I was 17 years old. And the late Billy Moore, the Hall of Famer, my coach, she had one pick, and she picked me for the future of the game because she knew the last player who was a great and All-American, just a star of stars, wouldn't get a lot of minutes. So she used that position, and I thought that this team could have used Caitlin Clark for that same express reason because she was going to bring more eyeballs. She was going to make USA basketball, more prominent. And we're talking about economics here. We're not just talking about,
Right.
because. We're talking about we want long-term, sustainability and success. We can't sit there and say we want what the NBA guys have, 70-something years later. They built it to, that $8 billion a year business. And we're trying to build it now. And we have somebody who's moving the needle because the W right now is outdrawing Major League Baseball, some, soccer, some of the golf, some of the other sports. We've never had this before. And for Caitlin and the Fever, I think 5 of the highest rated games this year have all been Indiana Fever. They lead in jersey sales. They lead in attendance. Any significant category that's tied to dollars and cents. And that's how we should be viewed, dollars and cents, because that's how.
And I got to stop it right there. So for those that don't know what I keep talking about when I say, excuse me, the WNBA is a business. There you have it. Nancy is breaking it down for you right in front of our eyes. I keep trying to tell you, no matter what you think about the sport, this is a business. This is a business, guys. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm coming off a little bit of sickness from the weekend. If you guys don't know, I told you guys that in some of my videos. Excuse me. So, yeah. So, Caitlin Clark, right? She's an investor in this league. And this is something I always say. The rest of you girls, for the most part, are showing up to your job. Caitlin Clark, she's moving that needle so far that you have to notice it. So the media rights, the media deal, they're looking at this viewership from Caitlin. They're looking at everything. When it comes to TV deals, anything business, they have it all in a chart. Okay, they got the W, they got the NFL, then they have teams, then they have players, then they have jerseys, then they have SKU numbers, then they have this. There's so many things that a lot of these, people who just be in the comment section. I'm talking about just a random, just 1 or 2 out of the 200 comments talking just nonsense. You guys don't understand that part. Caitlin Clark is the biggest female athlete right now in this today. Today, Caitlin Clark is the biggest female athlete in any sport today. 100%. That is undeniable. Now, back to the Team USA situation. As Nancy said, she would have taken Caitlin Clark. She would have had her as the number 1 pick. Well, she didn't really say that, but she stated that Caitlin Clark would have played as well. Now, based off what you've seen Caitlin Clark do out of the break, do you think those coaches would have changed their mind? I guarantee you, Caitlin would have been in that top 3 pick. I guarantee it. Caitlin Clark would have been in that top 3 pick for the USA team. If I'm the coach, I would have taken her first. Sorry. I need Caitlin Clark to run with Asia, Stewie, Collier, and Copper at the 2. And we're dominating. You could have Alyssa off the bench, run with just whatever. That's besides the point. Caitlin Clark should have been on that team. That's 100% true. You can't deny that. You cannot deny that. Now, without Caitlin Clark, this WNBA league business would have been failing. It's still failing. Caitlin Clark is excuse me. Caitlin Clark is covering all your asses. The rest of the girls in the WNBA. What she's doing right there in Indiana is covering all of your losses on the business side. I hope you understand that. That's how it works. So, like for me, if I have a car agency, right? And let's just say one of my cars is making me $5K a month or whatever the case is. But then I have 2-3 cars that they're down, they're at the body shop, they're not making me no money, but I still have $1,000 payment on. That one car is covering my payments for those cars down. So Caitlin Clark, that one person, is covering the rest of the WNBA right now. So Caitlin Clark is paying you girls your salary. I hope you realize that. Caitlin Clark is paying you girls your salary. Make that very clear. Let's continue.
How you build a business, then everybody goes up and everybody is successful together.
Explain what specifically you believe the issue is with Caitlin Clark in terms of the lack of support that she's received from some. Certainly not most, not all. Most people support her. They see her potential. They see her greatness. They see what she's done for the game. There's a level of appreciation. Even the great Dawn Staley, in winning the national championship, she thanked Caitlin Clark for what Caitlin Clark did for the game of for women's basketball or whatever. But there's been a small cadre of individuals that obviously have come across in a different fashion. What is the thing that you're hearing, Nancy, as to what their justification for feeling a bit reticent about throwing that support in Caitlin Clark's direction?
Well, it depends who you're talking to. If you're talking about the keyboard warriors who hide behind, 280, taps of their
Characters,
iPhone
yep.
or whatever they're using. They're going to say something that, first of all, they don't even realize that the players in this league are friends with one another. Okay. So you might sit there and try to create this animosity, or you might try to bring in, racism in this. And, there's no racism. You and I've been through this for a long time. I never came down the court and looked at somebody white or black and threw the ball to the white kid. I'm throwing it to the player who's the better player. They're trying to pit Angel and Caitlin against each other. They're friends, by the way. They're
Right.
helping grow the sport. And for those who, it's not a Caitlin thing. It's a people thing. I mean, people were so jealous of Michael Jordan back in 1984 when he came out of, UNC. Chicago Stadium was half empty prior to him arriving. Then the stadiums were filling up. Then TV wanted him and the Bulls on every game. By the way, this as a fact. David Falk, his agent, pulled his jersey out of the GLA because Michael Jordan's jersey, and I don't know the exact number, but let's say it was 90% of all jersey sales were Michael Jordan's jersey, and he was getting like 1/1300th of that, and all the money was being, dispersed throughout all the players that were playing. He yanked his out because he saw the value of what was happening. Tiger Woods goes to the PGA, changes how the sport is viewed. It's not just a bunch of, white guys hitting balls in an elitist sport. it's changed. I mean, look at all the guys of color, women of color that play golf now because it's acceptable. You should be able to do what you love. But it was him who was the catalyst to change. And all of a sudden he gets to a certain point in his career, and people are jealous and envious. You know, he changed the TV ratings. He changed the purses. Did Scotty just win $25 million the other day? That's not because of Scotty. That's because of Tiger Woods. And I just don't understand people. Now you have signature shoes for both men and women because of what MJ did and how he and his team constructed business. Caitlin is doing that right now, and she should be supported and not maligned for that.
Kelsey Mitchell has been a star on the Indiana Fever. There is no doubt.
Before we continue with Kelsey Mitchell, by the way, Stephen A., she has been more than a star. She has been a superstar over there in Indiana. Superstar. But look, that's a great take by Nancy. Great take by Nancy. She's just telling it how it is. You know, as far as them being friends, I'm going to be honest. This is the second person I've now heard say that Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark are friends. They could probably be, maybe they're cool with each other. I don't know about like, oh, they're going to go out and hang out with each other. No, that's not, they're cool with each other. Now, I feel like Caitlin Clark, she'll look at Angel Reese and be like, no, like, I'm not going to let you beat me in anything. And I feel like Angel Reese is going to look at Caitlin Clark. I don't think you're going to beat me in anything. I don't think Angel Reese likes Caitlin, and I don't think Caitlin Clark likes Angel. I'm just going to be honest. I think they're going to be okay with each other. They're going to be cool. Maybe that could change down the line. But I think there's definitely a little bit of something there. And how can it not be? They've been competing with each other for years. So maybe they're cool with each other, but I wouldn't say like they're going to call each other up or nothing like that. I'm not sure even if they have each other's numbers. You know, I got all my friends' numbers, all my homies, all my dogs. You know, and I know how to be cool with somebody if I see him at the gym, but I'm not really rocking with you. So that is what it is. But, you know, they're both growing the game. Caitlin Clark, obviously, the needle moves way further than what Angel moves it. But Angel does her part as well. But look, if we had a couple more Angels and CCs, well, I don't know if we're going to have some more CCs. But if we had 10 more Angels across the WNBA, the WNBA could start moving in the right direction. So that's how we have to move it in that direction. We have to get more players involved with fan bases. They have to do something to bring their fans to games. Start buying your jerseys. Something. So that way you guys, everything could grow. Because right now, Caitlin Clark, you know, she has a majority of this. And it's not fair what she's getting paid. And honestly, I'm going to keep saying this. We don't know what Caitlin Clark is getting paid. Trust me, we really don't. You could, it might say one thing on the internet. If you believe that, you're crazy.
About that, she has been nothing short of sensational. She's averaging about 19 points per game. She had a big-time game yesterday, which you called. And I just wanted to throw this out there just as a reference point, just to put things in perspective about what Caitlin Clark brings to the table. The average attendance in the 33 games Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever have played in this season is 15,746, which leads the WNBA. The average attendance of WNBA games not involving Caitlin Clark is on average 8,490, an 85% drop from games that Caitlin Clark is not participating in. Obviously, the New York Liberty average over 11,000. The Los Angeles Sparks average over 10,000. But the Indiana Fever at 15,746. Yet I'm on the air the other day, and I'm talking about the Indiana Fever, and I had to get on, you know, somebody we both have incredible respect for in Sheryl Swoopes. You're a champion on every level, one of the greatest players in WNBA history. Because I said, how do you mention the Indiana Fever and all of these other players, and you don't mention Caitlin Clark, and then all of a sudden she gets on me and calls me a coward and all of this other stuff. I don't know what you can say about Sheryl Swoopes, but if there's anything that you could say, what would you want to say in terms of the narrative that has been put out there as it pertains to her coverage and her feelings about Caitlin Clark?
You know, known Cheryl since she was in college. I helped do her shoe deal with Nike in 1993, took her to her first SBs. I've known Cheryl, I've coached her, have a lot of respect for her. The I called her when Caitlin was still playing at Iowa and she had just broken Maravich's record. And it was all over the place, as you and I have discussed, that, you know, there was this quote by Cheryl that said, you know, Caitlin was, you know, 25 years old. She was, however old, 24 years old. She was a fifth year senior.
Right.
She was taking 40 shots a game. Her records were illegitimate. And I got off the treadmill and I called her as a friend. And I said, you know, you can say whatever you want. You can have your own opinion about anybody, but you do have to get the statistics right. I mean, facts matter. And if you just get ahead of this and just say, hey, I made a mistake on my numbers, then this thing is over and everybody respects you for your opinion. And, you know, you might like Boston, I might like the Yankees. You know, it's okay to have difference of opinions. Well, she got upset with me on the phone, and I was like, Cheryl, you know, I'm not doing anything to hurt you. I'm just sharing. We're talking. And so our relationship, it pretty much is not happening at this point. I tried to talk to her at the Final Four.
Right.
She didn't want to talk to me. My life's going to be good or great with or without Sheryl Swoopes in my life. I'd rather have her in it. But let me tell you the
Right.
difference. The difference is when the Kennedy Carter thing happened, and I'm doing Michelle Beadle's podcast with Lou Williams and Chandler Parsons. And Michelle says to me, Nancy, what would you tell Caitlin Clark in that situation? And I said to Michelle, look, I'm not here to speak for Caitlin Clark. You know, Caitlin Clark, I'm not going to tell you that. Then she said, what would you do if somebody kind of blindsided you like that? And you know me, I'm straight from New York, straight from Rucker Park. I said, I would have
Yes.
gotten up. I would have walked up to whoever did that to me. I would have punched him in the face. And you know, the expletive that I used. And
Rutgers Park. Okay, Nancy. Hold on. If you hold on, look, Nancy bringing that Harlem out of her. Brooklyn. If y'all know Rutgers Park, you know that's right there. That's Rutgers Park. That's legendary. She said I would have got up and punched her. Real talk. Nancy got a little bit of that in her. I can see it in her eyes right now. Look at her. Look how she's looking. I would have punched her, she said. She's not playing that. That's Harlem. That's Brooklyn. Coney Island. One of my best friends is from Brooklyn. Rutgers Park. That right, man, that just brought a little bit of spark out of me, man. I'm glad she brought that up, bro. Rutgers Park, that's legendary. Okay, Nancy, I didn't know. I didn't know. But you, anybody talk about Rutgers Park, you know, if you hold your own down there, it can get like that. It can get like that. So I'm not saying that's what Caitlin should have did, but that's old school Nancy talking like, look, I'm from the streets. I'm from Harlem. I'm from Rutgers Park. We don't play none of that. You're not about to check me. Obviously, Caitlin, she's not, you know what I mean? And she doesn't need to be. She was the bigger person. She was a bigger person, walked away from me. But somebody needs to check one of these, you know what I mean? Let them know, hey, you're not about to hurt Caitlin. At some point, one of her teammates has to step up and let it be known, we got Caitlin's back. Have to. Now, Sheryl Swoopes. Nancy gave her a call. Let her know you got to get the stats right. You can say what you want. It's your podcast. Your freedom of speech is yours. But at least talk facts on the girl. Now, Sheryl Swoopes, she want to get a little attitude. And we've seen it multiple times on Gil's Arena. On her pod, we've heard it. We've seen her tweets. Right? So she gets mad at Nancy. Nancy sees her at the Final Four. Sheryl Swoopes doesn't want to talk to her. It's like, wow. All because I'm defending Caitlin and telling you to get the facts straight. Now that's enough to ruin our friendship and our relationship. That right there is just petty to me, bro. Like it's that much to ruin and to stop talking to me and to ignore me. That's crazy to me.
I would have said,
Yes.
F off. That is who I am. That is the concentric circle of who I am. And that's my era. And so, to her point, Teresa Weatherspoon called me, my dear friend who I love, respect, and admire. She said, Nancy, I was disappointed what you said. And we had a conversation. And I said, Spoon, I didn't say she should punch Kennedy Carter in her face. I said, this is what I would do if I were blindsided. And I've known Kennedy since she was in high school here in Dallas. I think she's a hell of a player
Right.
and should have been on the All-Star team.
She is.
But my comment about hitting her wasn't about her. But we had this conversation, which we apparently cannot have with me and Sheryl Swoopes. And I still think she was incorrect about what she did. And, we all have to be professional, right? You covered people, right? You and Durant have kind of gone at it in and out for a little
Right.
bit, but you still do highlights and talk about him and share
Yes.
the greatness of him.
Yeah.
You don't have to agree with everything with him,
Yeah.
but just do
He's a
your
great guy.
job. Do
Right.
your job. You get paid to do a job as a broadcaster. Do your job. Nobody says you
Mm.
have to be in love with anybody else, but if you're going to do an Indiana Wings game, you're going to have to talk about Caitlin Clark and her great teammates and what they're doing. And they have, Aaliyah Boston. They have, Kelsey Mitchell, who's just bananas. I mean, unstoppable, by the
Yes,
way.
she is.
And Caitlin Clark. So why would you not build around it? When I was playing, you would have looked like an idiot if you didn't, when you talked about Old Dominion, two-time national champions and two-time player of the year, and you
Well,
didn't talk about me. You'd look like you're
and that's
ignorant.
the issue. And that's the issue, Nancy, because listen, and here's the thing. What incriminates, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, but what incriminates somebody like Sheryl Swoopes even more, who, by the way, was supposed to be calling the game with y'all yesterday, and she did not call the game. And no doubt it had something to do with the fact that when, how Caitlin Clark had performed early in the week, she didn't want to talk about it at all. So we recognize that, and we know in television the way that I do. I know what producers do. I know what bosses do when you see, your personal feelings, whatever they may be, infiltrating the proceedings and compromising your position as a professional. But I think in the case of Sheryl Swoopes, and I'm not going to belabor this point, but it's important to be made. Sheryl Swoopes is a winner. She was great, and she's a phenomenal basketball mind. So what she's not realizing is that when she doesn't state the obvious, it's automatically going to be assumed that it's something personal, because we know the basketball game, the game of basketball, too well to ignore the kind of things that she's ignoring when it comes to Caitlin Clark. Am I wrong in saying that?
No, you're not wrong in saying that. And I would like to thank the Wings and Bally's for putting me on the game and asking me if I would do it. I will do anything for women's basketball. I'm just a servant leader here. At one point in my career, I wanted to be the greatest of all time. And now I just want to be a great, person that supports this generation of greatness. So to your point, I think she created this firestorm. She could put it out. And, it's like I always tell people at this stage, your ego's not your amigo. Okay. Your ego's not your friend. We have to humble ourselves and do our job and just recognize that, Caitlin might not be her cup of tea, but she's not doing anything to hurt Sheryl Swoopes. She admires Sheryl Swoopes and the Maya Moores and the Sue Birds and the legends that came before her. And I would dare say you can't find a soundbite this season of Caitlin Clark saying anything derogatory about anybody. She says, I don't care that she chatters on the court.
Class.
Who doesn't? Yeah, the great ones chattered, Bird, Magic, all of them. It's okay. That's a competitor. But, for this woman, to be maligned, you shouldn't. You don't have to buy the number 22 jersey if you don't want it. But what you should do is applaud her for helping grow this sport that we have busted our ass for the last 50 years. I mean, my Olympic team in 76 just got inducted last August. Some of my teammates thought they were going to die and never get recognized for being the first Olympic women's team. Julian Simpson, who was a co-captain with Pat Summitt on that team. The people are starting to know who Julian, people knew who Pat Summitt was, or Nancy Lieberman, or Ann Myers, but they didn't know who Lucy was until Lucy died. And Trish Roberts and Sue Roycewicz. And we had so many great players on that team. We just want to be recognized. And when the young players of today recognize, the pioneers of the game, it's a thank you. And the pioneers and today's athlete should be saying to Angel Reese and to, Asia and to, Jackie Young and all these great players, thank you. Thank you so much. Hey, thank you for winning that gold medal. Thank you for busting your behind on behalf of America. And we stand and support you. But if you have a legend who's coming at a young player on the rise, it's not a good look. And Caitlin didn't start this, and I know Caitlin, she won't finish it. She'll just play ball. That's who she is.
Dallas.
And that's right, man. Look, there's not a time where I've heard Caitlin Clark talk bad about anybody in this league. I'm not going to sit here and say Caitlin Clark doesn't talk her stuff on the court, because she does. She does. She's going to talk her stuff on the court, but when it comes to being professional, she's not going to, it's all, leave it on the court, man. She's never tried to hip check anybody, trying to personally foul anybody on with a hard foul. Anytime she gives a foul, she walks away. She turns her back. She's not looking for confrontation. She's looking to play good basketball and compete. A lot of you guys just have this quick, let me go off on Caitlin. Oh, Caitlin fouled me, so I'm gonna turn up. Like, come on, man. Relax. Play basketball. Do it the right way. You know what it is. It's so obvious how you guys treat her. And then you guys try to say, nah, we're just playing that. Like, the hit on Friday versus Chicago Sky. You're going to personally foul her twice out of frustration because you're getting your ass beat. And then you're going to go ahead and run her over. And then go like, come on now. You know what you were doing. Caitlin Clark. You wouldn't have did that to anybody else but Caitlin Clark. So I'm not telling you guys just take it easy on her, but man, treat the girl fairly. She didn't do anything to you guys. She's helping you guys, man. She's helping you guys. Some of you guys are getting fans based off Caitlin Clark's fans just because you guys are taking the opportunity and running with it. You should know every time Caitlin Clark's on that floor and you're playing against her, you have an opportunity to gain a fan of your own from Caitlin Clark's fan. You get what I'm trying to say? Instead of ruining your opportunity like the Shields did, you could have did something way different. Take a picture with her after the game. Acknowledge her. Ask her for her jersey. Do something different. Don't be a hater. You could like the girl. Do y'all ever think that she could be your teammates? Hello? Caitlin, this is a business, bro. We swap around like this. Caitlin Clark could be one of y'all teammates, bro. She's not going to forget how you guys treated her. So let's continue on, but it's got to stop. It really does. It has to stop, man.
Dallas Wings forward Satou Sabally. She spoke in a post-game press conference about the struggle of seeing their home arena packed with Clark jerseys. Here's what Sabally had to say. Listen to this, quote, "Obviously, it's annoying because there were way too many Caitlin fans in our arena, but kudos. I feel like our Dallas fans could have done better. I had mixed feelings seeing all the Caitlin jerseys in our home, but it's an amazing sign for women's basketball." See, I have no problem with that, Nancy. That's perfectly fine. And then Chicago Sky's Angel Reese is also doing her thing. Talk about her record-setting season, record-setting rookie year as well. I mean, I want you to comment about Sabally first. And you heard what she had to say. I had no problem with her quote because she's acknowledging and appreciating Caitlin Clark, but in the same breath saying she wished their fans had better supported them. Well, maybe you got to win more, and maybe they will. But I still don't have a problem with her quote. What about you?
Well, first, let me just say this. Thank you for bringing that up and reading the quote. Satou is a very, very close friend of mine. I have been on the court practicing with her and Enrique in the off season. These are two of the most unbelievable, intelligent, hardworking players. She was first team all WNBA last year, played for Germany in the Olympics in Paris. And she's just telling the truth. She's saying, man, this is amazing what's happening. This is what I get from her, having known her, and saying, we want this. You know,
Mhm.
I'm a great player. Enrique is unstoppable, as you saw. Natasha, Howard
Howard.
is one of those great veteran players. Okay, now you saw this. Now, Dallas Wings fans, we want you in the seats with our jerseys. And it's a communication. Communication is 360. You say something to your fans, and hopefully your fans respond. Dallas Wings fans are amazing, and they will respond, and they will show up and show out. And I applaud Satu for saying, look, I get it, but now I want it. And why shouldn't we want
Mm.
it in our own home arena? And that's just great communication, and that's why I love and admire her.
Indiana is outdrawing every other team by 35% at home.
And Sautu's right. Sabali. I love Sabali. Because before, about what, a year and a half, 2 years ago, I'm heavy with the props and stuff like that. So I've studied a lot of these girls in the past. Just not on a huge scale, but on a big enough scale to where I know what they're about. I know their game. So, averaging 20 out of the break, or actually not out of the break, but since she's been back from injury, I guess you should say, which is pretty much after the break, put up a solid 25 piece versus Fever, and she could hoop. And she's right. Look, who wouldn't be annoyed if, like Angel Reese, how are you not annoyed on your night? You got Caitlin Clark fans in there with your pink towel asking for an autograph on your pink Barbie towel. I would have been pissed. So Sabali's right. I'm looking in our arena and it's all Caitlin Clark fans. It's all Caitlin. Every time she makes a shot, the arena's going crazy in our house. She has to acknowledge it, but she wants that for her team, for herself, for her teammates. Gotta respect that. But I know that other teams get annoyed. Everywhere you look, it's a Caitlin Clark fan at your house. Gotta be annoying.
Home and 36% on the road. Chicago's Angel Reese is second in the WNBA. Obviously, Angel Reese's Chicago Sky team is second in the WNBA with an average road attendance of 10,929. That's one stat. The other is, as of 1 week ago, 20 WNBA telecasters averaged 1 million viewers, shattering the previous record of 15 for a season. Caitlin Clark was featured in 17 of those 20 televised games. That's her impact. I know for a fact the Rookie of the Year race is over. Caitlin Clark is going to win that. But what do you have to say about Angel Reese and what she's meant to the WNBA game thus far this year as a rookie?
Well, I've watched Angel Reese at LSU. I mean, she's a problem. This woman she just broke the record. She has a motor like I have not seen before. And I know a lot of people, well, she's getting, her own rebounds. I mean, cut it out. Okay. She's not the biggest player on the court. She's not the fastest player on the court. She's tenacious. She is doing her job. And as she gains more experience in the league, and she was working on her 3-point shot in her off season, she's going to just continue to explode, get bigger, better, even more greater than she is right now. And I think people need to leave her alone and just appreciate her for who she is and how she has played this game. And just because somebody has a quiet disposition and somebody has a little bit more flair in their disposition doesn't make anybody wrong. I enjoy watching her. I love that she's being coached right now by Teresa Weatherspoon. I mean, Spoon was pounding her chest, right, in the Garden with the Liberty. You saw that
Yep.
for many, many years when she hit the half court shot, against Houston, to push it to a
Yep.
game 5, I believe. It's okay to have personality, and she has personality plus. She's gorgeous. She looks like a model. She just defies everything you want to say about her. So I think people, again, should stop pigeonholing people. Just wake up happy.
Mm-hmm.
Just for all the new fans, just love this game. For the older fans that have been waiting for this, just say thank you. This is what we've been waiting for, packed houses. We've been waiting for Stephen A to have us on our show and talk about us on the regular. We've been waiting for the media to recognize that we are skilled and people do want to see us and how you push for us. And thank you to all the men out there that every job I've ever had, I've been hired by a man. So thank you to you, Stephen A, for, caring so much in controversial and quite frankly, in non-controversial moments. I've known you forever. You've always been there. You've never held anybody back. All you do is lift people up. We need that, by the way. We're not there yet, but we need that. So thank you.
Thank you.
There's some good words by Nancy, man. Legend. And gotta respect it. And she talks about Angel Reese as well. Angel Reese is doing what she has to do. But look, we all know the problems with Angel Reese. She's got to improve, and we're going to leave that completely up to her. It's in her ball. It's in her hands if she wants to improve or not. Yes, the motor is undeniable, but she has improvements, as is Caitlin Clark. We're going to leave it up to Caitlin. We know Caitlin because Caitlin's showing that she's improving. The thing with Angel, we just want you to show us, and we're going to leave it up to you, Angel. And that's all I got to say about Angel Reese. You got to show us. It's in your hands to prove it to us. That's it. Prove it to us and prove it to yourself. So, as far as Stephen A, one of the legends in the game as well. Nancy's letting it be known. I appreciate you. She's just, this right here, no hate. Just showing appreciation. Gotta love that and respect that from Nancy, man, 100%. Gotta love where the game's going as well. I'm gonna let Stephen A finish off, and then we're gonna get out of here. We have a lot of coverages. The WNBA is on fire right now. We have so many things, so many topics to cover. Then we got the Chicago Sky tonight as well. I believe they're taking on the Aces. So we got a lot of coverage to go over. So let's continue here and get you guys out of here.
Thank you so much, Nancy. I really appreciate it. I love you to death. Let me ask you this question. I don't think there's a debate about A'ja Wilson being the best player in the world. I don't think there's a debate about her winning the MVP this year. Although I would say Caitlin Clark is in the conversation for league MVP at the very least. But who's the second best player in the world behind A'ja Wilson, in your estimation?
Ooh, that's a great question. We had on the telecast yesterday, I believe that A'ja Wilson, who I agree with you, she's the best player clearly in the world. She's done things that I don't think I've ever seen. I don't even want to call her a big. She's just a great baller. She can shoot, she can pass. She's a two-way player. She could win Defensive Player of the Year award. She is a warrior. And to a point, and I'm going to get to the end of your question. When you talk to Becky Hammon will say, if it's somebody's birthday on the team, the first person who's running out to get balloons and hats and cards and all the ribbons and all that stuff is A'ja Wilson. She just has this ability. And Dawn has told me this also. And I love Dawn Staley, talk about a legend on the court and on the sidelines. She goes, this is the most incredibly kind human being, but a warrior on the court. Her teammates love her because of how she is. You can count on her. If somebody says that they count on you in life, that's the highest compliment you can have. So we have her.
Absolutely.
We already nailed that. I believe she's going to be unanimous for the first time in the history of the W. Nafisa Collier, she's amazing. She just, kicked butt at the Olympics. I knew, and I've watched her, and she's just taken her game to another level. The same thing, with Sabrina and SQ. I mean, now she's attacking the rim more than she ever had. You knew she could shoot the basketball, high IQ, in better condition. Talked about,
What about Breanna Stewart? What about Breanna Stewart?
Yeah, no, I'm getting to it. My friend.
I'm sorry.
You gotta let older women speak. No, I'm only kidding.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me go to Caitlin. We already talked about her. She is in that grouping. I gotta be honest, Arike is in that grouping right now. She's unstoppable. If this team were to be able to get to the playoffs, Arike is certainly in that conversation. And Stewie, I don't know who's been able to stop Stewie since UConn, right? 4 championships,
Yeah.
which is unbelievable in college. You go to the W, you win. I think she's got 3 or 4 championships. Somebody help me here.
Right.
With Seattle, and the
Okay.
Liberty are right on the cuff of being able to win a championship, which they've never won, and they're one of the original teams in this league. Um, Alyssa Thomas, okay, who's with Connecticut. People don't.
Stop. Alyssa Thomas is great, but I'm not going to say she's the question was who is the second best player in the WNBA? Alyssa Thomas is not the second best player in the WNBA. That has to do with Collier and Brianna Stewart, and then Caitlin Clark is up there. You know what I mean? Like, then we have Enrique, as stated. There's a couple players up there, but AT is definitely not the second. Neither is, I would say the second best player in the WNBA is going to be Stewart or Collier.
She's like so underrated, and I don't know how an Olympian could be underrated. She was in the mix last year for Player of the Year, MVP. She doesn't do anything fancy. She's big, she's strong, she can do everything. She's like a Swiss knife. She just makes people around her better. She's a great passer, defender, knocking down shots. To win, you got to have somebody like her on the team. So there's a lot of people in this mix.
Brianna Stew's she's got 2 WNBA titles with the Seattle Storm, 2018 and 2020. I just looked that up just to make sure I confirm that. So she's got 2. But let me ask you this. I've been saying of the mindset, because of the greatness of an A'ja Wilson, because of Kelsey Plum and others, and because of the greatness of their coach, I've been of the mindset, I don't care what I'm seeing from the New York Liberty. I love them. I'm a New Yorker. I'm always rooting for them. The New York Liberty, the Minnesota Lynx. Yeah, so I don't care. You bring me Seattle, Minnesota, New York. I don't care. You can't convince me that somebody's going to beat Las Vegas until I see it because of A'ja Wilson. That's how I feel. Where are you about?
Again, I love Stephen A. Smith. Here he goes talking crazy. The Aces aren't even playing that good. They're playing decent, but Aces look very beatable. What are you talking about? The Aces look very beatable. I'm not sure what Stephen A is talking about. The Aces look very beatable. They're not the same Aces from last year. Sorry. The Minnesota Lynx can compete with the Aces. So can the Liberty. So can the Suns. So can the Fever. I'm not sure. They just they barely beat the Sky 76-75 or something like that. I know they've been tearing ass past 2 games. They look beatable to me. I'm sorry.
About that. Are they three-peating, or
No.
do you have somebody in mind that you believe is going to knock them off?
I certainly think they can three-peat. I came in and spent a couple of days in training camp with Becky and watched how they prepared and how they played. Look, Sandy Brondell's an unbelievable coach. What she's done for the Olympic team in Australia when she was playing. Matter of fact, you probably didn't know this, Stephen A. I drafted Sandy Brondello to play for me in 1998 in the WNBA. So I've known Sandy a long, long time. Great mind. Cheryl Reeves won championships. She's amazing. She just won the gold medal. She won championships with the Detroit Shock and Rick Mahorn and Bill Lambier. They're good. And don't forget Connecticut. I mean, Stephanie White, she's tough. She's got DeWanna Bonner moving up the charts as an all-time leader in so many categories. And we talked about Alyssa Thomas. They're really good teams. So nothing is given. So let me say this about the Aces. I believe that they took this league by storm, and Becky is just done a marvelous job. I think when you're that good, if I were coaching in this league, I would take every one of her offenses and every one of her defenses, and I would dissect it, and I'd put what I liked into my program, and I think a lot of teams have. I think that's the highest compliment when somebody maybe takes your stuff and tweaks it a little bit. And the league is getting better because of these young players. But, Asia was on the Olympic team. Kelsey was on the Olympic team. Jackie Young was on the Olympic team. Chelsea Gray, who to me is one of the best passers in this league. She's unbelievable. And talking about passing the ball ahead. And,
Yep.
the other side of it is, they're coming off. I'm sure they're tired. There's 4 of them that played on the Olympic team. And they had one more of their teammates play for Spain in the Olympics.
Mhm.
So they're a great team, and I fully expect them to be in the mix at the end. If everybody stays healthy, those 4 teams,
Right.
this is going to be a super season for the W, and it already is.
If you had a choice, because I don't know a woman alive that knows more basketball than you. I just don't. I mean, I've met a lot of people that know, but I don't know a woman alive that knows more basketball than you, Nancy. So I'm going to ask you this. You had to select. You're in a position. You got the first pick in the draft, all right? And you have to select between Asia Wilson, Caitlin Clark, Breanna Stewart, or whomever. Who's the first player you're taking? Putting you on the spot, Nancy.
I'm going to tell you my answer before she goes. And this is granted, we're talking about age. We're talking about everything, right? I'm taking Caitlin Clark. What are we talking about? What are we talking about?
I am taking Asia Wilson. I'm going to build around her because she's going to make me a better defensive coach. She's not going to do anything crazy fancy. You know what? She's like the big fundamental. She's like Tim Duncan.
Tim Duncan.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, is that
Yes.
a good analogy?
With more intensity. With more intensity.
Yes. And I'm going to build around her. And we'll go from there. I like people who have won championships. She won that certainly, with Dawn at South Carolina. And we'll go from there. That's not to say that the others you just mentioned aren't spectacular, right? That's like saying MJ or LeBron. I mean, they're both great. It's just, what's your flavor?
Got it. Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark, are they the best backcourt tandem in the league?
Whew, right now they are. I mean, it's pretty unstoppable. I mean, these guys are getting almost 55 points a game between them. And I mean, I don't know anybody in the league who's faster than Kelsey Mitchell without the ball. When she catches the ball, she's a blur and she's unbelievable. And the way she's shooting right now, I mean, don't go under a screen. My thing is KYP. You know what KYP is?
I think so, but I'm not going to say it. I want you to say
No, it's okay. Know your personnel. Know your personnel.
Right,
I've been
gotcha.
saying this
Right.
since my first coaching gig. Know your personnel. If you can't catch a bounce pass, don't throw them a bounce pass. If they can't catch it up high, don't throw it up high. Know know who's good and what they do well.
That's a very good point because I'm going to give an example. Timmy. We love Timmy. She's not that great with catching outlet passes right now. She's not very confident around the rim and stuff like that. I've seen her pull it out a little bit. So Caitlin Clark, stop throwing the ball ahead to Timmy. She's not ready yet. That's just one example. You know what I'm saying? Know your personnel. That's very true. You got to know who could do what. Who's going to catch it here? Who's going to cut off the screen? You know what I mean? So that's very true. That's a very big point right there.
These guys between Boston, Clark, and Mitchell, they're learning each other right now. Time's their greatest ally, and I think that the Fever are going to win championships somewhere down the road with this squad.
Right. Nancy, very last question. Looking up a stat, I don't know if you know this or not. You probably do, knowing you, because you don't miss much. Caitlin Clark has personally received 17% of the flagrant fouls called. Literally, she's been fouled on flagrant fouls. 17% of them have been against her personally. We spoke about the Sheryl Swoopes situation. We've spoke about the numbers, the ratings. We've spoken about the resentment that Caitlin Clark has been receiving, not by most, not by all, but by, to be quite honest, too many. If you had your druthers moving forward, looking at the rest of this WNBA season, looking at the state of women's basketball moving forward, what's your wish and what needs to happen in order for your wish to be achieved and fulfilled? Last word is yours.
Well, what you just said is true. 17%, that's five, 5 of those fouls of 32 have been on Caitlin Clark. That's where we get the 17% from. And
Got it.
those were earlier in the season. And I think she's passed the physicality test. By the way, pace, space, it will out trump physicality every day of the week. Like when the Mavericks won the championship in 2011 and they had Jason Kidd and they were playing Miami and LeBron. And no matter how good, how fast, how athletic, how high you jump, you can never catch up with the pace of the ball. And right now with this team and what's going on, you can't keep up with the pace of the ball. So I think teams have realized, okay, she didn't cry. She didn't quit. She got up. She shook it off. She hasn't said anything in a press conference. We got to figure out how to guard her now. So I think she passed that test. I don't think there'll be a lot more of those. I would hope that some of these players, the stars in the league, do not get hurt because they're very important, right? You're only as good as your star players. Star players have to shine. Role players have to be role players. And that's why we have a team. Everybody has a role that they must play. Coaches coach and prepare you, but it's a player's game. I don't shoot anymore. Go ask.
Look, there it is right there. We're going to stop that right there with Nancy. Look, I want to touch on something she just brought up. You cannot hurt the star player. You cannot hurt Caitlin Clark. You cannot hurt an Asia Wilson. You cannot hurt an Angel Reese. I'm not going to say she's the star player, but she's that, for the Chicago Sky, she's that one person that has the fan base, whatever you want to call it. Caitlin Clark is very valuable to this league. And she's right. You guys tried all that. Let me do this. Let me be physical. You remember how Lonzo Ball got that treatment? Caitlin Clark she didn't retaliate. She didn't, start any problems. She didn't complain about anything in the press conference. She didn't request anything. She just did the press conference and wiped it off and showed and proved on the court and got better and played through the physicality, played with a blown eardrum. And I kept telling people, be as physical as you want with her. You're only going to turn her into a better player. Because you're going to be physical with her now. What about what she got a little bit of size on her? Now you're just giving her all of her things she needs to work on in the offseason. Her strength, her defense, everything. So, and I know she's going to improve. We know Caitlin Clark is going to put in that work. We know she is. You know she is. You know what kind of player Caitlin Clark is. You know how she wants to compete. You know she just wants to get better. She's not worried about the outside noise. She's not worried about what you guys are trying to do. Caitlin Clark is focused on winning games and getting better. Trust me. So, as you can see, all the physicality, it has slowed down a little bit. Yeah, they're trying to be physical, but they're also trying to figure out how to guard her. They're trying to pick her up full court. They're trying to deny her the ball. They're trying to trap. And she's figuring out how to beat all of that. And now the league is like, damn, what are we going to do? We almost tried everything. What's our game plan? And then you got Kelsey Mitchell going crazy. Then you got Lexi Hall playing out of her ass. Then you know what I mean? Just wait till AB gets a little bit more physical down low, continues to grow. She's going to be a problem as well. So I don't know, man. This is a team right here that, they're striving at the right times, and I just don't know what these other teams are going to do to slow this Indiana Fever team down. They got the Sparks tomorrow. I could see them beating the Sparks by 40 tomorrow. They got to come in and take the game serious, and they got to beat them by 40. Besides that, this was a great segment by Nancy. She touched on a lot of great basketball. This is Stephen A. Smith right here, legend to the game. She talked highly about Caitlin Clark. She talked about all the WNBA girls, Asia Wilson, Angel, and just talked basketball. She didn't talk, there's no black, there's no white, this is basketball. And that's what it should be about. She's happy where the game's going. She's being supportive. And that's where everybody should be at. You got to respect that. You got to love that. And, yeah, man, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish this segment here. Shout out to Nancy. Shout out to Stephen A. Shout out to you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys, man. Shout out to my fans. Shout out to my subscribers. Everybody leaving me comments. I got some emails from you guys. I appreciate it, with video suggestions and things like that. I really do appreciate it. I see everything. Anybody on my other channels, I appreciate you guys' support. Appreciate the support. You know, I will be live tonight on Game Day Uncut for the Chicago Sky game. If you guys want to come join up, we'll be live about 7 o'clock or 5:30. I think it's at 7 o'clock. Besides that, man, it's your boy ceokana with Game Day Network. I appreciate you guys. I'll be back with more content. Make sure you guys sub up, like, drop a comment on the video. Let me know how you guys like this segment. I'll catch you guys on the next video. I'm out.